Welcome back to Sophomore Tea. It is your year 2 grind, and we got tea to unwind. I'm your host, Alexis, and
I'm your co-host, Rhamel.
So today we want to talk about eating, as we're both munchies. Today we have a very special guest who literally studied struggling with food insecurity. So we're going to go ahead and introduce our little guest who's hiding there in the corner and see what she's all about.
Hi, friends. Happy to be here.
Hi, Kirk.
Nice seeing you.
Yeah,
So
nice seeing you.
please tell us, of course, your name and your involvement on campus.
Yeah.
Or your role on campus.
Yeah, so my name is Kirk. I'm the coordinator for First Year Experience, but I'm also a very proud alum of this great Blue institution, as I love to introduce it. And I had sort of the honor and privilege to be able to research housing and food insecurity as a senior here myself for my senior capstone. So that topic sort of stemming from my own experiences, but also just seeing as a student leader what students were struggling with and wanting to highlight that for the administration here so that we could help provide resources, which we have seen grow so much over the last
I love it.
few years.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I never even knew that about her. That's crazy. Okay, so jumping into it, like, can you really explain to us, for the people who don't really know what food insecurity is, like, how would you define that?
Yeah. So honestly, it's pretty basic. When you sort of like think surface level to it, it's really the lack of access to nutritional food in order to not only survive, but to thrive, right? So the human body needs a certain amount of things, and not having access to those things is sort of what we consider food insecurity.
All right, yeah.
Okay. Now, Kirk, to go off of that, what are some main reasons you think people go with food insecurity, like, and deal with that?
Like why are they food insecure?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different reasons, right? One, financial reasons is sort of usually the first barrier to that. Especially we've seen over the last few years, food prices just drastically increase. So even if you had the money to afford food at one point, that may have gotten harder over the last couple of years. I think access to transportation to go and get food is a struggle for some folks, right? Taking the bus to get food is perfectly fine. That is one way to do it, but it also limits what you can take home because of like, how are you carrying things of that sort. So I feel like there's a lot of different reasons, and I think what's important to note is that everybody's reason for food insecurity is so individual, and there isn't just one reason for it. But a lot of times we see that financial issue and mode of being able to secure food being the hardest part.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people also don't really know, like, in the moment that they could be, like, food insecure.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's moments where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't buy that. Like, what could I find to eat? And then sometimes, like, people will just, like, go to their dorm and, like, not eat. So I would say, what are some, like, ways that affect maybe academic performance or students' mental health, like being food insecure?
Yeah, I think, right, those two pieces are some of the most common issues that students run into when being food insecure, right? Like, college is already really hard in a million different ways, and so having to have that one more thing to worry about often takes up so much space in a student's mind. And so really adding to that mental health piece of like not being able to support yourself or not being able to provide for yourself, right? And like having to worry where the next meal will come from takes up so much space, and with that takes them out of their learning environment, whether physically or mentally, right? Like not being able to be present in a classroom can hinder that so much. We also just think of the nutritional piece to it, right? Like your brain best functions on specific foods and like the things that your brain needs to be able to really think through really complex issues or just think deeply. And so sort of the more physical piece of thinking is often interrupted by food insecurity. We can kind of think of like the K through 12 world, right? Like we introduced free breakfast and lunch to be sure that students were eating at some point in the day to feed their bodies and fuel their minds in order to learn the things that they need to in the classroom. And so when you hit college, that doesn't necessarily exist in the exact same way as it did in high school or in that learning environment, but it still impacts you in those very similar ways. So it adds one more worry, and it often takes you out of the time and place to, like in the classroom, to be able to think about what you're actually learning.
1000%. What do you think are some signs? Like I know we just said, like some students often don't know that they could be food insecure in the moment. So like for somebody who's watching this, what would you say are some signs that somebody is food insecure?
I think for your own self, right, because you sort of were talking about like there's times that you are thinking of like, oh, right, like having to think about buying this or food sort of puts you in that category. And I hate saying it like that because it's not a category, right? It's just recognizing the things that you may need and the support you may need along with that. But I think it's if you're noticing those moments, or if you're noticing your energy levels not being super high, or if that worry is constantly in the front of your brain of like, okay, what am I going to eat next and how am I going to get it, right? Like, I know we have some folks that like wake up and they're like, what am I going to have for dinner? Yes, that's part of it, but that worry on top of like, where am I going to get it, is sort of like that signal of like, okay, I may need some extra support, and needing that extra support is totally okay and valid. I think when you are looking at it from like, I'm supporting someone, and trying to recognize it in other folks, right? Maybe noticing that worry. Is there any like withdrawnness? It's not a word, but I'm making it up.
It's a word now.
It is a word now. Is there any like sense of being withdrawn from the spaces that they're in? Are we noticing the worries? Are we noticing they're not eating when we are? Things of that sort, and how can we point them into the direction of the resources and just like have a human-to-human conversation, because we've probably all been there one time or another.
I feel like that's so fair. Like, people like clown the whole conversation where like, Mama, did you eat today? And like people hate like when their friends do that, but I think it's honestly really important because you never know like who really is struggling behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And just that little conversation of like, did you eat today could be really important.
To go off of those like issues that you brought up and like signs and all that, is there something on campus that will help students, I don't want to say this, that will help students get the solution to those issues?
The resources that they need. Like,
Yeah.
we just
Resources.
mentioned that we're hungry, right?
Right.
It's a Friday. Hilltop hours are kind of hard. Devil's Den isn't open for long hours. I'm walking on campus. I just need something to eat. Where can I go?
Yeah.
Famished, actually.
We're famished. We can't have that. I think there's a few different resources, right, and how different students want to approach what they need, right? So Maria's Place is open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5. Those hours may not be conducive for everybody, but with that, the Office of Student Affairs is always open to helping students really no matter what the issue is, whether it's housing or it's food, or it's like, right, like I need childcare support, really no matter what it is, the Office of Student Affairs is there for all student issues. And so contacting them and saying, hey, like I'm having these issues, but the hours don't work well for me. What can we do about that? There's also a program listed on that same website for Maria's Place called Swipe Out Hunger. And so it's basically filling out a form to let folks know that you need some help with food, and they can actually add different meal swipes to your blue chip. So it's like, no one ever really has to know. You just walk into the dining hall like every other student, and you're able to eat a meal that day, right? And there's often multiple that come with that. And so I think the biggest thing is reaching out to folks, whether that be a friend or a professor or the Office of Student Affairs, or really whatever that looks like to find the different resources. I also think too, right, like the events on campus often provide free food, so being mindful of what's going on campus really at all times, it can be crucial, right, to sort of like feeding yourself throughout the day. I know that I knew some folks while I was in school here that would be like, no, like I plan my day according to like what events are happening on campus in order to eat. And so yes, we provide free food to get students there, but it's also opportunity to supplement the students' nutrition as well. And so being mindful of that, and using those as resources.
A lot of people like, that's the main reason why they want to go to events.
Yeah.
We tell you guys, get involved. You could be eating at these events. Come on now. So that's crazy. I actually didn't even know that about student affairs. You learn something new every day, huh? So Maria's Place, I know that it's literally a hidden gem. Like a lot of people aren't aware of it and like the things that they have in that building.
Away.
It literally is tucked away like in a basement, but it's okay. So speaking of how it's tucked away, how are the ways that students can access Maria's Place or even just get there?
Yeah, so it's super simple. So Maria's Place is located on the bottom of Vance Academic. So if you're sort of coming from the Student Center and staring at Vance, you'll be able to see it on that lower level. So if you sort of walk through the parking lot, there's an entrance over there, sort of in the corner, like you said, near the mural on the wall. And so again, it's open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5, and it's as simple as just showing your blue chip card. Your privacy is completely, sort of like validated, right?
Yeah.
It's all confidential. Nobody's like going out and saying who's using the food pantry. And it is super open to undergraduate students, graduate students, faculty, and staff, right? So there's no eligibility. It's just like you walk in. I believe they let you take 10 items per visit, but I don't believe that there's like a limit on how many times you can go a week, right? So just being mindful of the things that you're grabbing. And maybe we'll get into this at some point or later on in the season, you'll talk about it of like, how do you get creative with those meals from the things that they have at Maria's Place? I think the greatest thing about Maria's Place is it is almost like so sacred. Like you said, it is this little hidden gem, but they really hold that key to privacy really close to their heart, knowing that like this can be a really tough topic to talk about, and it can take a lot of vulnerability to walk in there for some folks. So they're very mindful of that and how they operate the experience once you're in there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Kirk, you read our mind because our next question was going to ask you, what are the limits on Maria's Place? I like the way you think.
Amazing.
So moving on to our next category, what are some misconceptions that people believe or like they think they know about food insecurities?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, especially for college students, is that they just don't have it. I know when I was doing the research again just a few years ago, the biggest piece that we heard from faculty and staff and administration on campus was like, oh, like we don't have students experiencing that. And I'm like, right, it is almost like this hidden epidemic is what sort of like the national researchers like to call it. And so this big misconception that because students are in college and they're learning and they're buying their books and they're staying on campus and like they're doing all these things, that food insecurity is not a thing, right? And they have family support when like in reality, not every student has family support, one. And two, even if you do have family support, maybe they're food insecure, right? Like it's not always set up to support financially. And so I think just having that misconception of like, because you're in college and because you're sort of like fighting this good fight to better your own life experiences and your life trajectory, is that you may not be experiencing this at all.
Yeah.
Whether that's because of the resources or what we perceive the financial resources to look like for college students. When in reality, the statistic for Connecticut students as a whole, not just here at Central, but 56% of Connecticut college students face food insecurity in some way, shape, or form. So we know by this number, right, more than half is students aren't alone in this fight and in this epidemic.
Yeah. I think that some people, if hearing about Maria's Place and the places that are offered to students on campus, they're probably just like, maybe that's for like people who live on campus.
Yeah, like people who need it more than me or something.
Yeah. So these places, is it just like a specific group of people that can go, or is it, who it's available to?
Yeah. So it's available to everybody. Again, there's no eligibility on what that looks like walking in. No one's going to like check certain things. But I think to your point, right, a lot of folks have this mindset of like, oh, somebody has it worse than me.
Yeah.
Or somebody needs it more than I do. I was able to eat this morning, so I don't want to go and take food from somebody tonight. Where, yes, may be true, and that doesn't minimize or invalidate your need for it also, right? So I think even if there's like this tick in your head of like, hey, I think I'm experiencing this, that is enough for you to sort of like deserve this resource, right? Nobody is there to sort of invalidate what your food insecurity looks like, because each person's food insecurity looks so different, right? Not one person's looks the same. And so I think trying to almost like check yourself if you're experiencing those thoughts. Like, you're allowed to take care of yourself. And the food pantry isn't necessarily pie, like for lack of a better phrase. Yes, you are taking stuff from it, and there's other folks that are able to give to it to replenish it for the next person coming in behind you. And so as a community resource, like, sure, be mindful, but don't block yourself from the resources that are available on campus.
I love it.
Amazing.
So for the commuters who are hungry and staying in their cars, I used to do that. Go to Maria's Place because it's open to everybody. I actually did hear a couple semesters ago that Maria's Place, like I think it was like something to do with the Swipe Out Hunger. They were offering 10 meal swipes to commuters, and you just had to email. I think there might have been like an eligibility thing to do with that.
Maybe,
but I saw that and I gave it to my commuter friends, and they were there in the dining halls with me. So
Eating it up.
you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
If I'm watching this episode and I'm hearing about all these fun places on campus and like the food that they could be offering, I actually kind of want to know, like, what is said food that's in this pantry? Like, do you have just an idea of what are some of the items, food things? Because I know there's also other things in Maria's Place. Like, what
Yeah.
are some of the things that are in there?
Yeah, I think it kind of varies based on what they're able to collect and go buy and things of that sort. But I think they really do their best to try to offer like the staples of a nutritious meal, right? So
Yeah.
you have your grains, you have beans, but like, do you have access to cook those things, right? And like, what does that look like? So really trying to put together meals could not be a struggle, but it's gonna be based on what they have in there, right? But them really trying to provide the essentials to what's in there. But on top of food, they also often do like different toiletry items, right? Because those can also get expensive. So trying to provide the students more of like this holistic approach to, I think, just overall wellness of like self-care and nutrition is what you can really find in there.
Like a mini grocery store on campus.
Yeah, have you been to Maria's Place?
I have been to Maria's Place.
And
have
what did you
been to Maria's
You know,
Place?
I have been to Maria's Place.
We all been to Maria's
But
Place.
I actually do want to go to student affairs. I don't know why I associate student affairs with like athletes.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I didn't think of that association. I associated with like just academics.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I didn't. I didn't. No.
All right, yeah.
Like, I had the misconception that student affairs is like athlete driven and like, I'm not an athlete. Anyways, long story short, I have been to Maria's Place and I know they have like a lot of toiletries. Like, I got a fridge from there actually, a whole mini fridge. Is that not insane? You never know. So I got a mini fridge from there. They often hold like books for classes, like textbooks. They have Pop-Tarts in there. I love Pop-Tarts.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
jog my memory.
Jog your memory? I actually won't do that.
Okay.
So I have another misconception, and I want to know if you think that's true or not.
Yeah.
Is it like, is food insecurity like just obvious to people, or like not really? Like, no, yes, maybe so?
Yeah,
No?
I would
Yeah?
say no.
No?
I would say it's, again, one of those things where it's very much like this hidden epidemic. I think it's really easy for people to mask and to hide. Whether you're doing that by like going out to eat with your friends and sacrificing the money that you were saving for something else and figuring out where to replace that money, or, you know, just like bowing out of ways to eat with your friends, or just like simply going through life saying, again, it's not that bad. I don't have it worse than somebody else. I was able to get food this morning, but I think it is really hidden and can sometimes be really hard. Again, I don't love this word, but like to detect in your friends and in the people around you. But I also just think like creating this humanness and like checking in with folks of like, right, how me and my best friend sort of share this thing of like, how's your mind, body, and soul today? And like, are you feeding those things, right? Of like, yes, your body, right, and the things that follow, but sort of the misconception, right, that like you can't often know. Like what's going on in someone's world in that aspect, unless they're a little vulnerable about it, or unless you're in a situation where you could see it directly.
Yeah. I like that heart, mind, what was it again?
Body, mind, and soul.
Okay.
How's your body, mind, and soul
Body,
today?
mind, and soul.
Body,
Yeah.
mind, soul.
That kind of reminds me, I know you said you're an alum here at ccsu. So do you actually have any stories dealing with like maybe struggling to get the proper nutrients in food during college?
Yeah, I think, so as an undergraduate student, and I guess still today, you kind of hold those identities forever. I was like considered a low income first gen student, right? So I was one of those students whose family struggled to have food in the house. For a lot of the time, I relied on the K through 12 free lunch system. And so coming here, yes, I was a residential student, so luckily I had that meal plan built in, but right, like when the dining hall closes, like what do you do? Or I'm gonna sort of date myself, I was in Vance my first year, and Hilltop did not exist. Right. The faces are accurate, because we would have to like walk down the hill. Doesn't seem that big, but when it's blizzard outside, you're not leaving your dorm room, right? So it was like making sure that we had the mac and cheese cups, or like the things that you could do in a dorm room, but some weekends would be a little harder than others, right? Or being a residential student and being afraid to go to the dining hall alone. I struggled with that a little bit. Older me now is like, girl, go get your food. Like, why are you, right? Like, nobody's looking. The anxiety that you have is valid, and we're gonna like work through her a little bit. And so then moving off campus, like knowing where to get food, and like, again, takeout is expensive, whether it's in Devil's Den or not. So just being mindful of like, how am I preparing food outside of there, or out, at home, to be able to bring with me. But there were some days where it's like, ooh. I need to go to Devil's Den tonight to get the food. And again, to get involved, to connect and do all the things. But again, it sort of gets it can get really real. And I will say Maria's Place was not here when I was a student. I think it opened up like 2 years later. So the resources that the university has provided have definitely grown. We've made a lot of progress on that. And for that, I'm like forever proud to talk about, because food insecurity impacts so much. And so how can we alleviate some of that worry for our students as we move forward?
Beauty and brains.
Love that story. Now, to go off of that, you said like you had that anxiety of going to the dining hall by yourself, and now you're realizing like it's not that deep. What would you say? How would you go? What would you say to a student who's like out there listening right now, and they don't know that they're struggling, or they're realizing they're struggling? Like, what would their first step be?
Yeah, I think the first step is telling yourself it's okay to ask for help. There's like never a time in this lifetime that you have to do something alone. And so I think really asking for help, whether that's from a friend to go with you to Maria's Place, or reaching out to a professor, or myself. I'm in Mid-Campus 109. My door is always open, no matter who it is. Finding sort of like the quote unquote adult on campus and being like, hey, this is what I'm going through. Like, how can you help me? Because there are so many different ways to deal with this. But I think the first step is telling yourself it's okay to not have things be okay and all lined up. And then it's okay to ask for help, and then really going and asking for that help, whether it is just entering Maria's Place on your own, or contacting student affairs, or talking to a professor or a friend, so that we can get you the right resources and support that you need to be able to succeed here, to be able to succeed forever.
Amazing. So guys, take those steps. Just take them.
I was actually gonna like to kind of piggyback off of what he said.
Off my back.
For the students who like are involved, and maybe not struggling as much as people who are struggling with food insecurity, what would you tell them? Like, people who have the knowledge and who could be helping literally their own friends in their friend group, what would you tell them right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it can start so simple, right? It's literally asking that question of like, hey, it's 3 o'clock. Did we all eat today? Right? Did we drink our water? Did we, it's not just about the Celsius life. Like, we need to add some H2O into our bloodstream as well. So I think it starts as simple as like being a human, and just realizing that we're all part of this human experience together, is like corny as that sounds. So step one is just like doing that with your own friend group, and then how do you really spread that out? Like, do you do a check-in at club meetings to see how everyone is doing? Do you do a check-in at events? And like chat with your constituents or participants that are there. And I think being mindful for yourself of like, even if you don't need the resources, having the resources in the back of your head. So if you notice something about somebody, you could say, hey, like, have you gone to Maria's Place? Have you checked out Swipe Out Hunger? Have you called student affairs, right? Or like talked to somebody that can help. And then I think, right, as like tangible, like if folks need something that they can do in real life, right? Like, do you make an entrance fee to your event? Like donating to Maria's Place. Like, how do we continue again to feed the community resources that we have in order to continue to like let people use that?
I love it. I feel like there's always somebody that you can go to on campus. There's the orientation leaders, honorable mention. There's the RAs. There's a lot of faculty on campus, a lot of professors who like have this knowledge that can help. So just it's 2025. Stop being shy.
Ooh, that's a bar.
you know, I mean, me myself, like I have to stop being shy to do specific things. For a lot of these like kind of organizations, how do you, what's your hope for them? Like, como se dice, how do you see it changing the culture of food insecurity and kind of just really bettering CCSU?
Yeah. I think the first piece is normalizing that everybody needs help at some point, whether it's with this or with studying for their math test or no matter what it is, somebody needs help. And I think just normalizing that folks can ask for help from anybody is really the first step. And even if folks aren't struggling now, it doesn't mean that they never have. And so I think just through the power of storytelling and through the power of sharing these resources out loud and not just in posters or things like that, really can help sort of move the culture forward of hey, this is okay. It's not okay that you're experiencing it, and it's okay with the help for experiencing it.
Because clock it, because we all, again, love to eat. I love it.
Right. All right, guys. I think that wraps up our episode. Give a round of applause for Kirk.
So amazing. Again, beauty and fragrance. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming today, Kirk.
Listen, thanks for having me.
And honorable mention, again,
right.
Kirk is involved with the FYE experience. So they did a really fun game of manhunt. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago?
It's an amazing question. Last week.
It was big. Yeah. I remember my freshman year, it was kind of just starting.
Yeah.
And now everybody's going and they get free cupcakes. The cupcakes are amazing. And so if you happen to be a freshman as well, go to FYE because that is also where our beauty and brain stays and all of her knowledge is at. So again, thank you guys for watching this episode. Make sure to check out what?
Our Instagram, our TikTok, and subscribe to YouTube so you don't miss out on anything.
The doy.
Doy. And keep an eye out on Instagram. We're gonna have a little poll for you guys. We want to see what you want to be called out there.
All right. Thank you guys. Hope you have a good one.